Welcome back for another episode of the Run and Shoot podcast. Ryan here, joined by Chuck. How is it going today, Chuck?
It's going pretty good, man. And I'll tell you one thing. We had us a good World Series last night. I checked that out, and it looked like the Tampa Bay Rays were going to clinch that thing. But, man, all of a sudden L.A. got hot, and Mookie Betts played well. To me, I think he's the MVP.
After like his second hit or something, and that was idiotic, I thought, for Tampa Bay. But, I don't know.
Yeah, we don't know. But number 17, it's hard to believe we're on number 17. We're like 3 away from being at 20. Could you fathom where we're at now to being almost at 20 now?
Hey, man, 17. That's a big number for a lot of people. Some notable 17s on my list would be 13-time NBA All-Star John Havlicek.
Okay.
You might remember him, a little Boston Celtic action.
One of the greats.
You know it. Maybe even 5-time NBA All-Star Chris Mullin, maybe the greatest flat top to ever grace sports.
The greatest flat top, probably up there with the Boz in the NFL. But Boz had like the mullet with it too.
Yeah, it was some pretty wild cuts going on then,
wild cuts.
Maybe even, what about former NFL wide receiver Plaxico Burress, current Titans starting quarterback Ryan Tannehill, getting it done.
Tanny, man, all day, every day. Those are pretty stout number 17s. I'll give you that. I got some of my own. Remember Doug Williams, the Redskins quarterback?
Yep.
You know, he was in Tampa Bay for so many years through bad teams. Goes into the Redskins.
Black quarterback to win a Super Bowl?
That is correct. He was the first. He was first African American to win a Super Bowl as a quarterback, and he had amazing numbers, and he had records that stood for a lot of years. So I mean, it just goes to show you what kind of game you can have in the big stage. And he answered the call, and it was pretty cool. Another one for me is Devontae Adams. And I tell you, we'll be talking a little bit more about him today because he had a big return this week. I think he had like almost 200 yards receiving in his return from injury. But one of the best receivers in the league right now.
For sure.
Absolutely.
Playing with one of the best quarterbacks in the league right now.
Now, do you remember Don Meredith?
Yeah, Don Meredith. Tell us a little more.
Don Meredith. Now he was one of the first quarterbacks for the Dallas Cowboys in the early '60s, all the way to the '70s, and kind of helped ushered in, the Dallas Cowboys of the '70s till, of course, Roger Staubach came in and did his thing. But Don Meredith was one of the original ones that was actually the bright spot when Dallas was first starting up as an expansion group, and helped turn that team into a good team. So before you think about, Roger Dodger, Roger Staubach, you got to think about Don Meredith. Also, Don Meredith was one of the 3 that did the Monday Night Football. Remember that? He was one of the announcers.
Yeah.
So, I mean, he was a very important man in the NFL. I mean, he helped usher in probably America's team and ushered in probably what we come to know Monday Night Football. And if it wasn't for him, who knows? We might not even have a Monday Night Football to celebrate like we do today.
Some pretty important number 17s. Now, Phillip Rivers didn't make either one of our lists there, I guess, but, he's a pretty important 17 too, right?
Not to me. He's a bum. Can't
Maybe
stand
one of the
him.
best to rock the bolo tie.
I'll give him that. The bolo tie was pretty nice.
Pretty tight. Those kids, you can wear whatever you want.
But let's head back to the World Series right quick. So, Ryan, what was your thoughts on the World Series as a whole? I mean, I know Game 6, as you know, Dodgers closed it out, win their World Series first time since 1988. I mean, as they fell short so many times, but they didn't have to worry about the Astros coming in to cheat them out again.
That's right. I mean, but it was a good team. It was a good series. The last series, I felt like the series with the Braves was a phenomenal series as well. It was tougher being a Braves fan to admit that, but I'm able to, looking back at it now. Just a phenomenal season altogether, too, even in a shortened season. But the Dodgers, they had a .717 winning percentage in the regular season this year, second highest for any eventual World Series champion. Do you know who's number 1 on that list?
Go ahead and tell me, Ryan. Who's number 1?
The 1909 Pirates. They had a .724 winning percentage. They played 154 games, though, compared to the 60 that the Dodgers played this year. But we saw pretty high-powered offense that could get going at any time. And when you pair that with the pitching staff that they have there, and, I mean, look at the payroll of that team. And then somehow Boston made the idiotic move of trading maybe one of the best players in the entire league right now out there, Mookie Betts. He paid off big time in this series and all season.
Yeah, but I think Kershaw won the MVP of the World Series, but it should have been Mookie Betts for sure. I think Mookie Betts, I may be biased. I may be biased because, I mean, he is a Nashville native, big shout out to our hometown boy getting it done. But I just felt like he should have won the MVP. To me, this World Series, what I'm going to worry about, if I'm an LA Dodgers fan, is going to be the asterisk on the side of this championship because of a shortened COVID season. As a fan, if you were a LA fan, would you worry about that?
I don't know. How can you? You're enjoying what's going on right now. I think they said they just broke all kinds of records recently as far as with all their merch sales and things. So, look, LA fans, they're just ecstatic right now. They've got 2 titles in the city and 2 of the best major sports in all the world.
That is right. LA Lakers won. So now the pressure is on for the Rams to, come through and get that triple crown.
I don't see it.
I don't see it either with them being in the tough division. But back to baseball, I just feel like I don't see it being much of an asterisk. I just see it because when things settle down, you celebrate now. You won your championship. The monkey's off your back. The only thing I worry about is when things do settle down and they look back on history, then they'll say, well, you only played 60 ball games. When
they look back on history and they look at the Astros championships of the last couple of years too, what are they going to say there? There's an immediate asterisk there for cheating. And
not going
to be quite. It's a 60-game season, but look, that's all. The players can only play what's out in front of them, and you got to give them credit. Once the playoffs started, which that was expanded, right? Once the playoffs started, and the best teams were there. I felt like this season, and I think the better team ended up winning the World Series.
I agree. I totally agree with you, Ryan. I think the better team won. Just like when Atlanta lost, I felt like that the LA Dodgers came on strong to finish out that series, regardless. But it's just what I think about this. Now think about this: NFL season probably going to have a full year. They seem like they're working through it and getting it done. College football slowly worked its way back. NBA had maybe 75-80% of the season done, anyways. But you look at baseball, they had to cut the season totally short. So out of all of them, NHL, NBA, NFL, college, all of it, it's just, I seem to me like they'll look at the Major League Baseball because they definitely cut that season by 100 games short. And to me, it's not a asterisk like the Astros. Their asterisk is because of cheating. This asterisk is because, well, you didn't play a full 154-game season. And that's the only asterisk I see to that, but I don't think that's as big as a deal.
So are you saying like that we have to place an asterisk? So if you had to place an asterisk, it would be there, or do you believe there should be an asterisk next to this season when you look back as a sports fan?
No, I'm not going to place it. It's just I know there's going to be some people out there that's going to do it. So I'm not going to do it. I mean, you had to work with –
You can't listen to what everybody says anyways. Most sports fans are crazy as hell.
Well, I'm about to say it's going to be 50-50, but I'm going to be in the 50 that thinks, hey – circumstance of the season, we had COVID, we had all of this going on. You had to do what you had to do.
One. Look, they got cheated. They were due one. They've been to the big dance a few times the last couple of years and just hadn't been able to get there, mainly because, Astros players are wearing buzzers and banging trash cans and all of that garbage. They were due one. Give it to them. LA.
Give it to them. Yeah, absolutely.
Look, rest in peace to Kobe Bryant. That's the only reason I'm happy to see LA win 2 titles this year. Now back to bashing those guys in the future.
Well, absolutely. So with baseball done, let's go to college football. I mean, we had a lot going on, in the NFL, the college football games. I'm going to talk about the Auburn and Ole Miss game. I'm assuming you've heard what's been going down, pretty much that, right?
Yeah, as far as the controversy with the ruling there where the ball touched the player, correct?
Yeah, and it's obvious. Just like the other controversy play of the spike backwards pass. I mean, what the hell, man? I
Did
mean,
you
it
see the
just
press
seems like,
conference or the statement that Lane Kiffin put out too? He was
oh,
like,
I saw that.
"I
Yeah.
want to be able to tell you what the officials told me in that meeting, but I'm told I specifically cannot tell you that, like it's against the bylaws." He says, but he feels like fans should hear what they said. Which, I mean, what do you think that it could be that they said, Chuck?
Well, I mean, they're probably saying, who knows what they're saying, to be honest with you, because, I mean, I'm a football guy. I eat and breathe, sleep football. And one thing I know for sure, if you're punting and you call for a fair catch, you back away from it, and if it touches any part of your body, it's a fumble. It's a live ball. So it baffles me. I don't know what they told him,
With
but I
everything that we
agree
can
with him.
review now, why are we still getting things like that wrong?
I have no idea, man. I mean, there is no excuse. To me, they need to hold the officials accountable in the replay booth,
Mm-hmm.
in the field, everything, because you have the technology now to fix this stuff, and it's still continuing to mess up. Maybe they told him, like, hey, it's in the past, it's over, you know. And I'm with Kiffin. Hard to believe I'm agreeing with Kiffin with something, but I totally agree with him. The fans need to know. The
Yeah,
players need to know.
be
It's like,
transparent. I mean, you might as well be.
well, I think they just need to come out and say they made a mistake. It's obvious they made a mistake. I mean, it is blind. I mean, I mean, even if I didn't know football, I would could have told you that ball touched that player. But who knows what they said? And I'm with Lane Kiffin. I'd be just as upset if it happened to the Tennessee Volunteers. But anyways, back to that game. As you know, they won the game 35-28. Auburn has bought these cheap wins to keep them at least a little bit relevant. But are they the most disappointing team in the SEC so far this year?
I don't think so. I mean, it's going to be a gauntlet. Did we expect Auburn to be a title contender? Maybe if Bo Nix come out there and played it, maybe a Heisman, not necessarily a Heisman candidate, but if he went out there and maybe put his name on that list, they gave him a chance. But they needed a lot from the quarterback position, like any school does nowadays, to be able to compete, especially to come out of the SEC and have a chance this year. They're not a letdown to me, honestly. I didn't pencil them in to be in the playoffs, but I did expect more out of them to this point.
I did too, especially Bo Nix. I mean, Bo Nix was coming into the year probably the top tier quarterbacks, one of the top tier quarterbacks in the league with Trask and maybe Mac Jones. And he's been a flat out disappointment, just flat out. So to me, Auburn is kind of disappointing because they're supposed to be competing with A&M and Alabama. I mean, and you can't say LSU is too big of a disappointment because they lost all their players. They have to pretty much start back from scratch again.
Look, every school goes through that, though, right?
Exactly.
Every school has a graduating class.
Every does. It
and
does.
a class that's going to go to the NFL, and it's just that's part of the game.
That is part of the game. Speaking of LSU, they had a game against the South Carolina Gamecocks. They rolled them hard down in Baton Rouge. I think the final score of that game was 52-24. So, and plus it seems like there is frustrations building in Columbia, South Carolina. So, are we going to see possibly, Will Muschamp on the hot seat soon?
I don't know. Who do you think has a job longer, him or Jeremy Pruitt, if the Vols continue to lose?
Well, as far as like bonehead goes, it's Jeremy Pruitt's going to be out the door quicker than anything. I mean, I'll get back to him and talk to him here a little bit when we get to the Tennessee game, but I mean, it's just not working. It just, I mean, I think it's the offense.
Muschamp's going to be in a job for a while, though, man. Unless
I think
catastrophic there. I think they like him.
Exactly. I was about to say, if you look, South Carolina, let's be honest, you may get them to finish in a runner-up in the SEC East, and every once in a while they're going to win the SEC title every once in a while. But you look at two programs like Tennessee and South Carolina, two polar opposites, man, as far as traditions, expectations. To me, Pruitt's on the hot seat. His seat's hotter than Muschamp's, in my opinion. Just my opinion.
Interesting.
But the next game is, Kentucky Wildcats floored us because of their defense. Well, their defense still showed up, but their offense, man, was about putrid. I think they had like almost barely over 100 yards of total offense the entire game against Missouri. But Missouri won that game 20-10 over the Kentucky Wildcats. To me, the Kentucky Wildcats defense is without a doubt probably one of the biggest surprises in the SEC so far. If they had the half an offense, maybe like an Alabama or Georgia, Kentucky could be in a different conversation as far as competing for the SEC this year. I mean, what do you think about that, Ron?
Hey, man, look, I'm sure it's hard to recruit at Kentucky still. I mean, you're in the SEC, but regardless, Kentucky is Kentucky, and it's a basketball school primarily. They've made leaps in the past decade or so, right, when it comes to that football program. Beat Florida for the first time in forever a couple years ago. Just big win against Tennessee just here recently, which not as much of a surprise I felt like just at this time as far as that goes, especially in this season. But hard to recruit, right? If you get a good offense at Kentucky, it's going to be hard to get a good, consistent overall team, right? You're either going to have a good offense or a good defense. Maybe sometimes things are going to pan out, but at that program, they're used to underachieving.
Absolutely. It's just, like you said, the recruitment doesn't come in. It's just Stoops has found ways to be creative as far as like it just goes to show him of his coaching chops, a little bit to get these players buying in to win these kind of games against like, Tennessee or Georgia. They've snuck on Georgia a couple of times. They've got Florida a couple of times. So, I mean, yeah, they underachieve a lot, but it's just a team like South Carolina. Every once in a while, a dog gets thrown a bone and they get a title win every once in a while. But yeah. I agree with you. Totally basketball school.
Hey, to go back to Lane Kiffin for a second. So did you see this?
Go ahead.
Too?
Yeah, go ahead.
So they fined him $25,000, right, for complaining about the officiating. And what he's threatened to do now, he says, all right, yeah, I'll pay it in pennies.
What would you do? Paying in pennies too?
I mean, I don't agree with the call. He's still abiding by the rules, but he's giving it to him a little bit, right?
He's giving it back to him.
Like a truck full of pennies, right? How many pennies does it take for $25,000? That's got to be like
that's got to be
right?
That's got to be like a back of a truck full. It has to be. This is like his big middle finger to him, saying, "Yeah, back to you, buddy." Kind of thing. But I'm with you.
It's kind of ridiculous.
It is kind of ridiculous. Now, Florida and Vandy did not play this week because of COVID, and but Florida is poised to return. You had Mullen and Mason at Vanderbilt both come out and said they have enough players to play this coming week. So both those schools will be back in action this week.
Well, breaking news: Bengals just traded Carlos Dunlap.
To who?
The Seahawks.
Fuck.
No additional news here, but I mean that just come down from Adam Schefter. Breaking news.
Oh man, I really wanted him to come to the Titans to kind of help out that depth a little bit because I feel like Vic Beasley's not it, dude, and we needed somebody to come in.
Talent there. It's just a matter of getting the defense to play overall.
I agree, but man, that would have been a good get, but. Mm-hmm. And I guess, trust J-Rob, trust the process. He's not done us wrong yet. So I guess he didn't see that we needed to get him, this time around. So, but you look at the Seahawks, that helps their defensive front, and they need help so bad right now.
Yeah, they did.
So let's go to the Big Ten. I'll just run some winners through you this week. Ohio State, Indiana, Michigan, Rutgers, Northwestern, Purdue were all winners this weekend. I guess
Michigan looked pretty good.
They did look pretty good. Probably the best game of the weekend was Penn State and Indiana. Kind of want to just take your brief thought. I want to give you a brief thought on it. On that 2-point conversion, player dives, looks like he hits the pylon touchdown, but to me it looked like it hit the out of bounds line first before it touches the pylon. What's your thoughts on that, Ryan?
I didn't watch it live, so watching the highlight and knowing that they called it a touchdown on the field, right, there was no way you could overturn it, I thought. But had it been the other way around, I also think you wouldn't have been able to overturn it. If they would have said that he was short, how do you reverse it? But at the same time, with them calling it a touchdown there too, it's hard to say. That is one of the closest plays that I've ever seen. It looked like Stretch Armstrong out there reaching that thing
It
out to the
did.
pylon.
But man, and Penn State can say all they want. It's like, well, you gave that game away. Yeah, you did. So you can't blame that moment.
It's Indiana.
Penn
You're
State,
expected to win that game.
You're expected to win. And then, man, I guess that's probably the biggest loser of the weekend as far as Big Ten goes, because Penn State was supposed to be one of the top contenders in that conference. But like you said, Michigan, to me, quick winner of that week. Michigan had a great week. Penn State had a horrible week. I guess you agree with that.
Yeah, anybody that watched most of these games, though, had a great week. Everybody's just happy to have this college football back. And
I think
the Indiana play, upset of the year so far, right?
Yeah, so far. I mean, Indiana's not really supposed to be any kind of type of football school. And when you knock off a school like Penn State, that's saying something. That's a
They
good
have some
signature
talent
win.
there, here and there.
Well,
Indiana.
yeah.
They just
but
go a little under the radar.
Yeah, they're a little under the radar, but this is a good win to kind of like help you solidify a good season when you pull out these top 5 wins over like Penn State, Ohio State, or Michigan, or anybody like that, and especially in the SEC like Alabama, LSU, or Florida. Just any wins like that really gives you a good boost for your season. So and then we had some ACC action: Clemson, Notre Dame, Miami, North Carolina, Boston College, Louisville, and Wake Forest were all winners this weekend. It seems like Trevor Lawrence is continually to solidify him as the number 1 pick in the draft this year if he goes. And I brought that up for a reason, because I'm sure you already saw on Twitter him saying, like, my mind is about moving on, but who knows? So, Ryan, where do you think –
you never know.
If you're Trevor Lawrence, if you're sitting right now across from me and you're Trevor Lawrence and you're having a season like you are, and you win – let's say you win the Heisman national title, where do you think you're going to do? Are you going to try to stay in school and see if you can get a better franchise to join, or do you just go ahead and take your chance and go out there and play for the Jets?
That's a tough one.
That is a tough one.
You got to consider a lot of factors. I think we've touched on this before too, because look, Clemson's a hell of a place to be. It's a fun campus. I'm sure they're not worried too much even currently with the COVID stuff, unless you're playing athletics and you have to be on that field. But man, that's a party school. There's a sweet golf course on campus. It's a beautiful place. It's a fun place to be. I'm sure it's got to be a great program to play at that high of a level for it too. At the same time, look, he's the number 1 overall pick. Undoubtedly, I think he'll come out and he'll be that number 1 pick no matter who is drafting. If I'm him, though, playing for the Jets sounds totally miserable going forward.
Yeah.
If they have the number 1 pick, and it looks like they probably will have the number 1 pick,
I think they got it
think twice. And is he the kind of guy that would come out there and pull that Eli Manning card and say, look, I'm not going to play for your program, so don't draft me. And if you do, I'm going to force a trade.
I think we could see that, but he seems like, Trevor seems like he's a mellow dude. Now, the Eli story, the story behind that is because of Archie. He had to go through what he went through with the Saints, which they were terrible at that time when he played, and he didn't want his son to go through that as well. That kind of play a factor. I mean, who knows what Trevor's thinking? He seems like a mellow dude with his big locks out,
Agreed.
If I'm Trevor Lawrence, I'm saying, look, I'm having a good time right now where I'm at, playing at the University of Clemson. We'll worry about the draft when it comes around at the end of the year. That's what I would do.
The thing about that is too, look, the obvious decision is to go ahead and go in the draft. You risk injury coming back no matter what. And when you play at such a high level with such ridiculous athletes, there's always the threat that something career ending could happen when you're out there. So you've got to, you got to get that money.
I do agree with that too, but it's just I want to make sure that all my ducks are in a row before I make a big decision like that, because that's a life-changing decision. And if I'm a football player, I kind of want to go to a franchise that is halfway decent, and the Jets are nowhere that close.
Do you think if you're the Jets and you have the number 1 pick, there's no way that they go anywhere else with that, right? They would trade that pick away if they were going to go in the route of just sticking with Darnold. But that seems crazy, but at the same time, some of those number 1 picks can go for a king's ransom, especially this year where you have a guy that seems like a talent that doesn't come around very often in Trevor Lawrence. I
Right.
think a lot of teams that can use an upgraded quarterback, especially with some of the older guys, could be a lot of folks looking to move up to that number one pick, regardless of who has it.
Yeah, it's just like you said, it's a king's ransom at this point. It's just it's like depending on the situation. I mean, let's look at the quarterbacks that are coming out this year. I mean, probably Trevor's going to be number one. Justin Fields at Ohio State. He's going to be a look. People are going to look at him. This kid out of North Dakota State that everybody keeps talking about. I forget his name, but he's supposed to be a stud as well. So, I mean, as of right now, the quarterback pool is not as deep as it's been in recently. So, yeah, we're going to see somebody probably give the king's ransom to move up if they wanted to do it. So, to me, Trevor Lawrence, I think he needs to just weigh his options at the end of the year. There's no reason to think about it now. That's why I agree with his comment saying, who knows? I mean, we're in the middle of a college football season, and yeah, it may be on his mind, but it's not on the forefront of his mind, because
I'm sure he's got it tucked back. He's a champion. He's got it tucked back where it needs to be. He'll think about it when it needs to. It's just guys like us that think about these things right now.
Oh, absolutely. That's why I brought it up, to see what your mindset was on it. But I want to talk about the Vols. As expected,
Do we have
the Vols got rolled by the Tide over the weekend, 48-17. Garantano, it was not actually his fault. He actually played a decent game. He didn't throw he didn't have any turnovers. He did get sacked a little bit, 2 touchdowns. But, man, we gave like 3 or 4 fumbles away, and one of them was returned for a touchdown. But it's just, we went through a tough slate, and this seems like it's been the story every year for the Vols, man. Every time we get a little momentum, then when we start to get the grind on our schedule, whether it's Georgia, Florida, Alabama, usually in a row, we get the crap kicked out of us. This seems like the same old song and dance, and I am so tired of it as a Vols fan. And I know about 95% that are tired of it too, and then you got the 5% who are stupid apologists that want to keep things the same way, which baffles my mind that you want to. But to me, do you think the Vols are heading for another disaster? Let's take our fandom out of it. You as a Gator fan, me as a Vols fan, what are your thoughts on, do you think they look like they're heading for another disaster?
It doesn't look good, Chuck. I won't
I
try
agree.
to, kick a dead horse here, but this horse is looking pretty dead.
Yeah, it's rotten. It's rotten a little bit. But to me, I think the Vols are not where we were.
Did you have high expectations coming into this season? I know
I did. Yeah, absolutely.
I didn't.
I did. I mean, I expected us to try to at least compete for the SEC, East Division title, between Georgia struggling on offense. And, knowing that we had to go through Florida to get there, to get to where we needed to be, and feeling like that we moved our game, the Florida game, at the end of the year. And usually we play our best ball at the end of the year. So it kind of gave me a little confidence. But to me, this game did knock my confidence off. It's the Kentucky game that killed every ounce of my confidence in this team.
Yeah.
Why would it just baffles me that you continue to want to roll with Garantano, and you're sitting there telling me he's the best possible talent. This makes me question Pruitt's coaching ability to coach talent. Are we seeing a Butch 2.0? Maybe. Who knows? But to me, I'm done with it. I'm tired of the excuses. Like, I keep hearing the same excuses. It's on me. It's not on the players. It's on everybody. Everybody just sucks right now. Let's just call it for what it is. That's how
Chuck,
I feel.
some of these maybe the last decade or so, and some of these UT Vols coaches, how much do you blame them for you eventually needing to go on blood pressure medicine?
About 85%. But to me, I think it's more on the athletic department. Look, I think we just got to the point where we were scraping at the bottom of the barrel on the last coaching search. The infamous 2016 coaching search. Who can forget about that? That was the biggest saga I was ever a part of in my life. I think you got the biggest kick out of my misery.
You almost got Schiano.
God, come on. Now, to be honest, I accepted it because I was like, well, welcome, Coach Schiano. I don't agree with the hire, but then you all of a sudden you got Clay Travis heading out the AD's number, and then of course and it takes off from there. So thank you, Clay Travis, on that one. But and the rest is history.
Maybe helps things out for sure. But man, look, that was after Butch Jones, and he was the savior for a little while. I mean, for everybody. Everybody was in love with Butch Jones, especially he beat Florida for the first time in forever, like 15 years or something, right?
Right, and then you got the season where he beat Florida and Georgia. You thought that was the peak year. Like, it's finally the Vols' year to probably go to Atlanta because we beat those two.
And then somehow underachieves to such a level that he's out the door that quick.
It's just like I say, Ryan, the expectations in Tennessee are huge, and you know this. You know how, I mean, we got Neyland Stadium pack 100,000 plus. Our boosters probably have one of the deepest pockets in the country, and then plus tradition. And in the history, the magnitude of Tennessee is not like, you see at Vanderbilt or any. We're one of the top traditions in the country. Same thing with Florida.
The title since what was it? It was like 96?
Do what now?
Hadn't sniffed the title since 96, I think, right?
98.
98. My apologies. My apologies.
Well, how do you think it feels always like 98, man?
Much sooner.
Much sooner. But that was our last title. We hadn't been to an SEC title since 2004, and that's when we had Eric Ainge. Played LSU, and LSU kicked our butt that game. So
yeah, Eric
it is what it is. I'm going to go on from the Vols, and I'm going to talk about Mac Jones's play this weekend at Alabama.
Let's hear about it.
As you know, Mac Jones has quietly had a stellar year this year. I mean, he had almost 300 yards passing. Granted, he didn't throw any touchdowns, but I got some numbers here for you.
Okay.
He's passed for 1,905 yards, 12 touchdowns, 2 picks. His completion rating is 87%.
It's pretty solid.
With a 212 quarterback rating. So Mac Jones has slowly made his way into the Heisman conversations in my eyes. That's some stellar numbers. That's Trevor Lawrence numbers right there.
He's playing good.
But is he Trevor Lawrence?
Well at that school, no, he's not Trevor Lawrence.
No,
he's
by no means.
Doing his own thing as far as that goes. And playing at Alabama, you got a lot of pressure on that offense, especially with Saban bearing down on you from the sideline there. If he continues things up, he's definitely in that mix.
Yeah, I think so too. But I think it's just like he's just the quarterback that's working the system. To me, I don't think he's in the conversation yet. But if he continues to have these 300-yard, 4-touchdown games, I mean, you have to have him in the conversation. You'd be wrong not to. So
absolutely.
That's it for college football. Ryan, hit election over the weekend. We had some good action this weekend.
Little NFL rundown from this past week, starting on Thursday night, where Wentz had 359 yards to help the Eagles soar over the Giants. Philadelphia 22, New York 21. Baker Mayfield's last-second touchdown after losing his number one receiver saves the Browns from the Bengals' upset potential. Cleveland 37, Cincy 34. Also, the Falcons, they continue producing very creative losses. Lions win on a last-second touchdown there. Detroit 23, Atlanta 22. Also, the Cowboys get knocked around literally for the Red Rifle. Quite the target he shot there from Bostic.
It was a nasty hit.
Early, and they're still looking for answers at the QB position, among others. But they got knocked around by the R words. Washington 25, Dallas 3. The Bills hold off the winless Jets barely. Pretty much a crapper of a game this week, but Buffalo prevailed 18, New York 10. The Saints notch another division win over the Panthers. New Orleans 27, Carolina 24, in a game maybe a little closer than people expected. Brady and the Bucks, they fried Gruden and the Raiders. Tampa Bay 45, Vegas 20.
The GOAT doing GOAT things, man. The GOAT's doing GOAT things.
And that offense about to get a little bit crazier, literally.
Yeah.
The Chargers held off a late rally from the Jags. LA 39, Jacksonville 29. The 49ers beat down the Pats as Cam gets benched in this one. And I don't know if that's going forward or if it was just to maybe teach them a little lesson in this one, as they looked terrible. San Francisco won this game 33 over New England with 6. The Texans got trounced and Devontae Adams returned. Green Bay won that one 35, Houston 20. Snow could not stop the Chiefs, couldn't slow them down from beating down the Broncos as Kansas City scored 43 to Denver 16. Then Sunday Night Football was one of the wildest games that I can remember in a long time. Helped a lot of fantasy owners out, hurt a lot of other fantasy owners. We'll get into that here in just a little bit too. But the Cards got a key win over Russ and the Hawks in a thriller in OT. Arizona 37, Seattle 34. Monday Night Football, not quite as exciting. The Rams smothered the Bears offense in a defensive struggle. LA 24, Chicago 10. Chuck, what did you think about this week's worth of NFL action? And, what other notes did you potentially have looking back on things?
Well, I've got 3. I want to talk about the Atlanta Falcons. When you said creative losses, I figured there's no way you can lose a game like you can until I was just baffled. I mean, all Gurley had to do was just get down at the 1. Game's over. It's over.
You've seen him do it in the past, too.
So, and it's just hilarious at this point. If you're a fan of the Falcons, you just need to laugh because it's just an ongoing misery of just these losses. The way they're losing is one of a kind. Definitely, I've never seen this kind of level of losing. I mean, it's hilarious. It's different when you're getting blown out every week, but when you're losing in this fashion, the Dallas comeback, you had, what else you had? I mean, we had another comeback, and then, of course, you had the Lions last-second touchdown, and it's hilarious at this point. Dallas Cowboys. Wow, man, it's incredible where we're at with Dallas. The Red Rifle is over. I mean, to me, I feel like Dallas is just fixing to be in the trash. And I think the Eagles are going to win this division, in my opinion.
I don't know, man. They're going to have to make a move. That's for sure. And now we saved the best for last as well when it comes to matchups to hit on our local team here is the Titans. They tried to make a comeback in an old AFC Central rivalry, but that was ruined. Gostkowski with another huge miss in this one that could have sent things to overtime. Pittsburgh 27, Tennessee 24. Some thoughts on that one?
Man, I just hated to see it. I mean, to me, let's talk about it's like Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. First half, complete disaster, both sides of the ball. You look at the defense. Let's start with the defense. It's not good. We were panicking. We could not stop them. They were throwing these underneath routes, and they were killing them.
Secondary's got some troubles.
They do. And then you look at the offense, and I'm going to have to pause real quick. My son's got up on me.
What up, little buddy?
Yeah, he woke up on me, man. I'm sorry.
No worries.
All right, you want to just keep going? First guest right here. So do you want to just?
Right ahead.
All right, we'll just keep going.
Your thoughts on that Titans comeback that was ruined at the last second? Missed field goal now after we had the penalty to back things up a little bit.
Agreed. But it goes back to our first half, man. Like I said, Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde. First half, man, we just looked absolutely horrendous on both sides of the ball. Look at the defense. Gave up way too much underneath passes, not looking too sharp. And then also, you look on the offensive side of the ball, with that defense not stopping anything, getting behind, we panicked. We got away from our game plan. We got away being Titan football. And that's running the football with Derrick Henry. He only had 8 totes in the first half. You can't have that. But then second half rolls around, we get our adjustments set in and made Big Ben uncomfortable. in the second half. I mean, he throws the pick in the end of the first half, but then the 2 gigantic picks that got us back in the game, hats off to our defense, man. And then our offense, we settled back down, got to running the football, got to get doing Derrick Henry all over again in the second half. And then you got Tannehill settling back down, made a big completion to Brown to really open up the game and get us back in it. But then it got comfortable for Henry. And Pittsburgh was terrified by the fourth quarter, man. Even Big Ben, he was terrified. He was sweating it out, man. So, Ryan, where are you at, man, as far as your thoughts on the game?
Well, it was a good game. You explained it right. We got off to a slow start. Panic got away from our game plan in the first half because we're trying to catch up with the Steelers. They got off to a fast start. But, yeah, offense came around, looked good. A.J. Brown looked explosive, came up huge. A couple of very big plays. All around, the offense looked good in the second half. And they're becoming a team that when it comes down to it and you need that final drive, you expect them to get down there and get in position to at least, make that happen. They did here. Gostkowski missed another big one. He's come up huge in a lot of games. We've needed him for a couple of wins. But he's missed some really big field goals. It makes me wonder whether or not – I think you constantly have to be looking to improve every position. I think you have to look to bring in some folks for tryouts to see if maybe there's something better out there. But at the same time, not going to try to lose faith in Gostkowski. It's only one loss, and it was a hell of a game.
And it was fun. I agree with you, Ryan. And it's just, to me, I feel like Gostkowski is the best option we have. We really don't need to start this, trading kickers every week like we did last year. I mean, what do we have, like Parkey, Santos last year? And those were the complete disasters, dude. I mean, I know kicking's a bad part of our game right now, but I just feel like if we can just stick with Gostkowski, he's been to Super Bowls. Yeah. He seems like he would overcome his adversity better than most. I mean,
Agreed.
Ryan Succop days are what?
Yeah, but I'm saying, getting close. We miss any more like that.
Yeah, I agree. To me, into too. So I mean, you can't fully point the finger at Gostkowski. Our defense should have performed at that level in about first or second quarter. We would have definitely won the game. But
I'm not saying the game was won or lost on that play. All I'm saying is if you get your kicker in a position like that, with that range, you should be able to hit that thing and go to overtime, I feel like. You expect him to hit that kick.
I agree as well. But
you saw the look on Big Ben's face. He was like, wow, he missed that?
Yeah, and I mean, he knew it. He knew if that thing goes to overtime, they're probably going to lose. I mean, to be honest, they're probably going to lose this game.
We'll never know. A couple other thoughts, too, Chuck. Odell Beckham tore his ACL. It's a big-time injury for him. You hate it. I thought he was about to turn a corner. Maybe him and Mayfield could have potentially built some chemistry. Maybe both of those guys, maybe things would be better if they moved on one way or the other. But, yeah, you hate to see that. Also, Ryan Clark today I saw apologized for his terrible take on Derrick Henry.
He needs to. He needs to.
Agreed. Titans Twitter really got after him. He said something on Twitter about, I had no idea the following that the Tennessee Titans had, but now he does. And he's got his respect for Henry in proper place. He's going to be a little bit biased, let's be honest. He won a couple Super Bowls with Pittsburgh.
Right. And of course, you got Dez, who's finally back in the NFL, but he's on a practice squad. Do you see him possibly make an appearance later this year?
For sure. I think he's still a talented guy. I think he can help that team.
Absolutely. But and then you got AB, Antonio Bryant's back as well, another big piece to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Do you see this helping or hindering the Buccaneers?
I think it can only help. They're going to have a very, 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 very short leash with him. It's going to look like a keychain. It's going to be that short of a leash. And if he does anything dumb or if he tweets anything out dumb, if he acts crazy in the locker room, I think that, I think he's out the door pretty quick. And I think he's definitely a better option than some of those guys that are being forced into playing right now. And I think Godwin's banged up a little bit right now as well. Man, look, he's one of the most explosive players we've ever seen play the wide receiver position. If he can get things right between the ears, he could be a tremendous addition for those guys.
He could be. this could make or break the Patriots, the Buccaneers, man. So we're going to see if he's going to be a key fit to fit. We'll see. But let's go to our fantasy studs and duds, dude. So
also, real quick to update this. So in that trade for Carlos Dunlap, looks like Seahawks sent an offensive lineman, B.J. Finney, and a 7th-round pick to the Bengals in exchange for Dunlap. So Finney and a 7th-rounder to bring in pretty dang good edge rusher.
Well, daggum. Man, I wish you would have got him. I'm still bummed out about that. I figure he'd be a good addition to the Titans front, man. But we've already got a good solid front.
I don't know if we mentioned Everson Griffin, too. He went to the Lions for a 6th-round pick, and that seems very affordable.
That is very affordable, I think. But I think just the Dallas Cowboys are just dumping at this point, saying, look, we just got to cut our losses. And just – I mean, I think they're focusing probably not even winning the division where they're at right now, man. And they still have a chance. And that's crazy, man.
It's crazy. It's going to be it's been a crazy year already, and we're going to have a crazy finish for sure. When we jump to fantasy studs and duds, Chuck, you want to run through yours, or do you want to alternate back and forth? How do you want to do them this week?
I can run through mine real quick, and then I'll let you have yours.
Let's do it, man.
All right. I'm going to go run through first number one. Mike Evans makes another return to my dud list, man. He laid a turd this week, 2 catches, 37 yards, and 0 touchdowns. And that's not good with Antonio Brown fixing to be in the mix of this offense. But it's going to probably be like one receiver's going to have a great week and the other one's going to have another one the next week, seems like, in an offense
Only
like
so many balls to go around.
Exactly. A lot of mouths to feed, dude. And then you got Stephon Diggs. Did not have his big game. I mean, yes, granted, he was targeted about 12 times. He only caught 6 of them. But you look at the matchup he had with the Jets. I mean, it was bound to have a good week, but he didn't.
Well, they knew who to target to kind of get that offense to slow down a little bit, right? Put a little bit more pressure, on Allen and make sure that you blanket cover Diggs. That's what they did.
And then also you got Jerick McKinnon. Did not have a good week, but it was Wilson who had a big week with 3 touchdowns. But Jerick McKinnon only saw – 3 carries and a -1 yard. So if you had Jerick McKinnon in your lineup, not good, man. That's negative points there for you. Speaking of negative, let's keep it in the negative. Chase Claypool. A lot of people have been on this Pittsburgh receivers emerging as the number 1 target. Comes and face the Titans, and we shut him down.
Well, they say number 1 target? I don't think – I mean, he's a good fantasy pickup, and I think you're going to start him a lot of weeks. Titans did a great job of shutting him down, but I think Juju is the clear number 1 target there, and then Deontay Johnson clear number 2.
Yeah, I agree. And then another guy that I thought would do good this week was Mike Davis. Now, Mike Davis is a running back out of Carolina. He only had 36 total yards between receiving and running, 0 touchdowns. That's not good, especially when CMC is supposed to come back.
That's true.
So, Ryan, let's talk about your studs this week. Who you got?
Studs this week, I think you have to start in Seattle, and you could give it to either one of those guys, but I think you got to give it to Tyler Lockett. When you look at the combination between him and Russell Wilson, it was on full display in this one. And he had 55 points in my ESPN league. I had him and Russell Wilson going in that one. It ended up bringing me to a comeback victory where I was behind by quite a bit already. But when you look at Tyler Lockett, just the stat line that he put up in this game, I mean, phenomenal. 15 catches, 200 yards, 3 touchdowns, easily the stud of the week for every fantasy lineup as far as that goes. Also, you could look at a number of quarterbacks leading these weeks too. But Devontae Adams, another receiver that you have to have on that list because he had a great week this week as well. 13 catches, 196 yards.
Solid.
Touchdowns in that one. And then when you look at some of the quarterbacks, you have to include some of those guys on this list. Justin Herbert, he had a great week too. And he's been having a great season. He's not won a ton of games yet, but he's putting his team in positions to do that. But 347 yards, 3 touchdowns. He looks good out there, man, as far as just commanding this offense. And with some of the weapons that he has there, he's putting up some good stat lines, and I feel comfortable having him in my lineup week after week. If he's your starting quarterback, right? Also, when you look along those lines too, it's hard to not talk about James Robinson, one of the only bright spots going on down there in Jacksonville. But 22 carries, 119 yards, and a touchdown. Also, 4 catches, 18 yards, and a touchdown there. And I mean, he's been consistent for the most part all through the year. He's really been a dominant force down there for Jacksonville, and really something that everybody's trying to key on him, right? I don't think a lot of folks are worried about Minshew torching him, although he's shown that he can do that too. But the receivers, not quite the threat down there, so it's a surprise that Robinson continues to have the success, at least to me, that he's having down there. Also,
right.
What about Baker Mayfield? So Baker Mayfield had a week, and you can talk about a number of quarterbacks, but after the way this game started, he throws a pick, Odell goes down trying to make a tackle or trying to make something happen afterwards. He's done for the season, at least for a year probably, with an ACL injury. But Baker Mayfield came out and balled after that, right? I don't know if the offense is better without Odell in there. It's hard to say that, even though he's going to command a certain bit of attention from that quarterback. So maybe taking a step back helped out a little bit here, but 297 yards through the air, 5 touchdowns, including a very clutch one at the end. And Baker Mayfield, man, look, if he was on your fantasy team this week, it paid off for you there too. And it may not have been a very attractive start going into this game, even though it was against Cincinnati. But
Right.
I think he has to be included on that list there too. Some honorable mentions as well, and a guy that has to be on any stud list this week. A.J. Brown, 6 catches, 153 and a touchdown, and just showed that speed. I think they said that he's hit the highest speed for any wide receiver all season on that run.
Nice, man. So that's some pretty impressive studs there, man. Let's go right into the predictions. Hang on just a second. He's crying again.
Buddy.
I'm sorry, man.
Ready to roll?
All right, I just left the door open for him, so if he comes in, he comes in, so he don't get panicky on me.
Oh, you had him locked out?
Well, I had him in his little play area with a hash brown eating it, and he was quiet, so I kind of cracked the door, so I just left it wide open.
There you go.
So if he comes in, he comes in. I'll try to keep him pacified. Dude, I am so sorry, man. He usually does sleep through. The one day he doesn't.
Tempting fate here.
Yeah, so, I mean, the one day he does not sleep, it's today. But we'll just pick up on it. You ready?
Yeah, we're gonna do SEC then NFL. Just do NFL.
Let's just do NFL. Tennessee's
All right.
off this week, so we'll just do NFL. All right, NFL in 3, 2. All right, since we gone through all the studs and duds, let's go straight right into the breakdown and the predictions of the NFL Week 8. So we're already 2 quarters in, man. That's awesome. So we got some great games coming up. Thursday night, it's supposed to be Atlanta Falcons at the Carolina Panthers. Panthers are favored 2.5 points. Over and under is 49.
As we get into this, and we talk about betting lines and things too, this is going to be the first Sunday in the state of Tennessee we can legally bet on sports online without having to use offshore accounts and things like that. So get that FanDuel Sportsbook app. That's what I've got downloaded. I'm going to be placing all kinds of props and things going into this Sunday. But for this game in particular, Atlanta at Carolina, you got to take Carolina here, and you got to hit that over at 49. I think it's a given.
That is a given. I agree with you. And how does that make you feel, though, that the state of Tennessee will be betting, though?
It's fun, man. I can't wait because there's going to be so many opportunities on that FanDuel app, too. It looks like there's going to be fun props that you can get, these parlays. It just makes it a little bit more legitimate than having to use some of these Bovadas and some of the other websites that make you use, like, foreign currencies.
That is cool, man. But did not know that it was supposed to start this weekend, so that was a good good one there. The Indianapolis Colts return from bye. They'll play the Detroit Lions. Detroit Lions are 2-point underdogs with a 50 over and under. Who you got?
Indy at Detroit here. I think so. The line's 50. You hit that over, I think, pretty easy as well. Go with Detroit. I think that they may have found something. I mean, the offense is going to be there. The thing is, can they slow down Phillip Rivers and the Colts? I don't think that's
they should. I think they should.
Yeah.
So, all right. Let's go with Minnesota. Minnesota Vikings will travel to play the Green Bay Packers. Green Bay Packers are 6.5-point favorites, 54.5 over and under.
54.5 doesn't seem like too high of a number either. And I think you go with Green Bay.
All right.
Green Bay, 6.5 points. It's a touchdown, wins it. Touchdown on extra point wins that one, right? As far as for betting's sake. And I think Green Bay's good for probably at least a 10-point victory in this one.
I'm going to actually take the under here because I think with Dalvin Cook coming back, could be a solid addition to this offense, and the Vikings getting him back. And they could give trouble to the Green Bay Packers because, Dalvin Cook has great games against the Green Bay Packers. So, remains to be seen. So, I'll take the under because of that fact.
All right.
All right, let's go with New England Patriots at the Buffalo Bills, big division game. Buffalo Bills are 3.5-point favorites, 44 over and under. Who you got?
Take Buffalo in this one. I never like unders, but if you're throwing an under in there, this is the one to do it on because I think you're going to have a low-scoring affair here. But I think the Bills come back, just a little bit better than New England in this one. Although, you look at Belichick coming off a loss, that's a tough one to bet against.
Yeah, I agree because here's the thing. I think New England's at an all-time low right now on their team. And then you got Buffalo, who's not playing too high right now. I'm going to say New England gets it. I think they'll upset them this week and kind of just show, hey, we're still the class of the East. So I'm going to say New England gets the dub.
So we disagree on the last two. What about the Titans at the Bengals with a 5.5-point line as far as that goes? And Titans favored in that one. Over under set at 54.5 at this time. What do you think on that one, Chuck?
The Titans and the Bengals. That could be a trap game because Burrow's playing very, very, very well. And I'm going to say we don't
offering up his thoughts. What's he saying? Can we get a translator?
He says to take the under on the Titans right now.
Oh, under.
Yeah, I'm going to say the under because here's the fact of the remaining is our defense is still a question mark, dude. It's still a question mark.
Under, That's both teams' scores combined.
Right, and I will say, what was
The
under
Bengals are
54?
throwing a lot of passes, right? They're throwing the hell out of the ball out there. Burrow showed he can play in this league already. We can score. We've seen that. The thing is, neither one of these defenses have proven that they can stop anybody. I think this is the easiest over of the weekend.
Probably to a certain extent, but don't be surprised to be let down on this because our defense kind of stepped up a little bit, but probably not enough to give it enough right there. But I'm going to take the Titans winning, but I don't see them getting 5.5. I see it probably be a 3-point victory because the Bengals are better than a lot of people think.
Yeah, it's a terrible take, Chuck, and that's why your child's crying.
Oh, now quit it. All right, let's hop right into Las Vegas Raiders at the Cleveland Browns. Good game here. The over and under is 2.5 and 54 over and under. What you got?
The Raiders at the Browns, 2.5 points. You said the Raiders favored here, right?
Correct. No, the Browns are. The Browns
favored by 2.5. Okay, so if you're giving me points with the Raiders, I'm taking the Raiders in this one.
Okay. So I agree. I think the Raiders get the win here over the Cleveland Browns. Cleveland Browns are coming over injuries right now. Even though they still got weapons, be a fun game. Raiders win. All right, let's go to the New York Jets playing the Kansas City Chiefs. 19.5-point favorites in the Chiefs with a 48 over and under. Do you think they'll get 19, Ryan?
Yeah. So look, the line looked a little crazy for that Tennessee-Alabama game last week too, but nobody doubted that one. Right? 21-point victory. Well, 19.5 here. I don't think anybody's doubting this one either. Kansas City going to come out there. I think we see more of Le'Veon. We see more of Tyreek Hill, hopefully for fantasy owners' sake. That's all I'm saying. But, yeah, I mean, I think you can easily roll right here with Kansas City and not think twice even about a 19.5-point line over. Now, the over of 48, I think, is also a given there, too. You know, right? 24 points on either side. Or you look at 30-plus for Kansas City. And, you know, can the Jets score enough to hit that over? That's a tough one.
I don't know. I agree with you there. I think we'll see a 19.5 easily from the Kansas City Chiefs. I would go ahead and bench Patrick Mahomes. Here's why. Because if he gets out early to a big lead, his numbers are not going to be great. He proved that last week. His numbers weren't great against the Denver Broncos because of the snow, and they got to a big lead. So that's my kind of a fantasy lock for the week. Bench Patrick Mahomes.
Pretty bold statement there, Chuck.
I know. Let's see if it pays off. Another big matchup. Pittsburgh Steelers at the Baltimore Ravens. Baltimore Ravens, 3.5-point favorites. The over and under, 46.5.
Two AFC Central division rivals in a row right here with the Steelers at the Ravens.
Don't like neither of them, man. Don't like neither of them.
Same. Undefeated Steelers playing a Baltimore Ravens team that a lot of people are throwing some doubt their way now, which is surprising because they've been so beloved since the Lamar Jackson era started. But people are starting to say, look, maybe they're a little overrated. Some things just not looking great. I think Lamar has a bounce-back game here, and I think Baltimore covers this as far as that goes. And I think that 46.5-point over, I think you can hit that over pretty easily here too. I think we might see a shootout between Lamar and Big Ben, and that's what I'm rooting for as a football fan.
Right. I think Lamar and the Ravens will knock off the last undefeated team in the NFL. I mean, I really think so because they think they're hot. They think there's something in the bag of tater chips, the Pittsburgh Steelers does. And to me, they're not. They're not, right, man. We almost beat them. I mean, we had to miss the kick. They won because we missed the kick at the end. So I'm going to say the Ravens win, and they beat them by 10 points.
There you go. I mean, you got to give respect to the Steelers, but
I do.
This game, I think this could be a pretty good game here. I think Baltimore might come out on top. We'll go find out.
We're going to find out indeed. Next one, Los Angeles Chargers. Sorry.
There we go.
At the Denver Broncos. Denver Broncos are 3-point underdogs with 45 over and under. Who you got?
Take the Chargers. Take the over. Denver can score points. Denver can't stop anybody with that defense that's hurt right now. I don't believe I think you see another good fantasy day out of Fant. I think another good fantasy day out of a couple of players playing there for the Chargers. Keenan Allen, Herbert, I think could have another good day. Take the Chargers.
Take the Chargers. He might not like it. My man might not be liking that. I'm going to
disagrees with that take.
Well, it's just I can't trust the Chargers, man. I can't trust the Chargers. I mean, granted, they did get a win, but it was over the Jags. I would not be surprised if the Chargers lost this game to the Broncos. So I'm going to take the Broncos this month, set of the week.
All right, we've disagreed on a few of these. What about New Orleans at Chicago with a 2.5-point line favoring the Saints? That seems very low to me.
That is low. I think with the offense sputtering with the Bears right now, granted they have that defense, but they can't keep relying on that so much. You're going to have that offense wake up a little bit for the Bears. So I'm going to go call it. I'm going to say they'll do more than meet the spread. They'll be on the over. New Orleans wins this week and wins more than 2.5 points.
Yeah, if you're betting money and you like winning money, I think you put your money on New Orleans in this one.
Granted. Next one, the San Francisco 49ers have found life, and they're at the Seattle Seahawks.
Seattle wins this one. I think they bring things back down to normal for San Francisco. The problem is going to be Kittle because Seattle cannot seem to cover tight ends. But we'll find out. My money's going to go on Seattle in this one. I think they bounce back from that loss in a game that could have very easily been theirs. 3 points is the spread. I don't think that's near enough. 54 points as far as the over-under number. Hammer the Seahawks. Hammer the over.
All right, I agree. I'd say hammer the over and hammer it hard. Probably the lock of the week for me. Let's go ahead and, Seattle takes it. Next one will be a Sunday night matchup, and there is no line. The Dallas Cowboys at the Philadelphia Eagles. The battle for the East, man.
It's got to be Philly. No line. I mean, you're not betting this game, I don't believe, anyways, unless you're throwing it into a little bit of a parlay. Well, it's off the board. You can't bet this game. But Philadelphia's going to win this game.
I agree. Philadelphia wins it unless the Red Rifle comes back. Doesn't look like he's coming back. DiUcci will be the quarterback down there in Dallas if Red Rifle can't go. So I'm going to roll with the Eagles. They're going to get that dub.
There you go.
And go ahead.
I was just going to say, I think the Cowboys need to make a move for a quarterback. You've heard a lot of people clamor, and we talked about it here last week or maybe even the week before about Ryan Fitzy potentially being a fit there. What about Jameis Winston? Would you give up any kind of draft capital? I don't think New Orleans wants to get rid of him, but if you're Dallas, do you maybe think about giving up like a third-round pick, throwing it their way to say, hey, we want Jameis to come in here and try to do something just to help us this year?
Unless you want a 30 for 30 season. Just saying. But it'd be 20 for 20. But, yeah, he would be playing with better talent. I don't know, man. They're in a tough spot. Maybe Ryan Fitz, maybe. Go get him because he's done for the year with the Dolphins because Tua's coming back in.
Maybe. We never know.
I don't know. I'd rather go with Fitz than I would Winston, man. Too much of a turnover machine. But let's go with the Monday night action. Tampa Bay Buccaneers at the New York Giants. New York Giants are 10.5-point dogs with a 47 over and under.
10.5 points. I've went with a lot of favorites as far as today, and I'm trying to talk myself into the Giants with that 10.5-point spread because I really don't know why I'm trying to talk myself into that, so I won't. Tampa Bay, take them. Again, I'm not a big fan of taking the unders, but can the Giants put up enough points in combination here with Tampa Bay to hit an over of 47? Probably. Hit that over.
Let's hit that over. Just going to put it simply like this. Tampa Bay wins this, and they're going to need more than a big scramble from Daniel Jones, an 80-yard tumbler scrambler there. That was hilarious.
They said he hit a higher speed on that run than Lamar Jackson has all season.
I heard about that. That's crazy, man.
And then he also fell pretty quickly. He stumbled. The old turf monster got him.
All right, man. That's all I've got for the predictions and breakdown. Let's close her down, man. What are your thoughts on when we close this down, man?
Just another good episode, another good week of sports. Great week of sports for the NFL, even though the Titans lost, the Seahawks lost. Great games all around. I think you got to be appreciative of that. World Series is over. We got a champion in LA. I don't think anybody's arguing that they're probably the best team in baseball this year. Go sports.
Go Sports is back, but I think now we're focusing totally on football. It was nice to see college football have a full-length schedule. When you saw that, I was like, man, just bring back old memories. I was had to check on my little man. And plus, seeing the little man come on the show and see what Daddy does for every once in a while. But, yeah, we got through it, though. We got her done. And man, what an episode it was. And I can't wait for episode 18. We'll probably talk some second quarter awards maybe for the NFL, who's played a great second quarter. We'll see what happens. Also, follow us on Twitter. It'll be at the bottom of the screen right here. Follow me or Ryan, and follow our podcast at Run and Shoot Pod 1. That's Run and Shoot Pod 1 on Twitter. We also have our Facebook page. Give us a follow. We have our content put up there. And that's pretty much all I got, Ryan. You want to shut her down?
That's it, man. The little one's telling you, look, wrap things up, bud. I'm hungry.
I'm fixing to go feed him some lunch.
Thanks for tuning in. If you're still with us on the Run and Shoot podcast, and we'll see you next week.
All right. Adios.